Welcome to the third Career Speaker Series of the spring semester, the March edition of the Career Speaker Series. My name is Nick Simino, and I'm the Interim Outreach Coordinator and Advisor for the Computer Information Technology and Cloud Computings here at Delgado Community College. Today, I am your host for this event. I'm joined by Mr. Chad Perrier, the Vice President of UDI. Chad will share stories and insights about his career journey and how he develops his focus on customers and their success. Chad will also answer questions you may have about the industry, careers, and technology in general at the back half of the presentation. So before I turn it over to Chad, I'd like to tell everybody exactly what our Career Speaker Series is. So the Career Speaker Series is a monthly series of guest presentations from industry professionals in the IT and related fields to talk about what it is that they do, how they got there, and how you can too. We put these events on to demystify technology careers and opportunities in the world for all students, faculty, and staff here at Delgado and as members of the community. So we will be sharing this on YouTube. We will have time for a Q&A built into our presentation at the end. So I ask to please mute yourself as Chad's giving his presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. If you want to throw your questions in the chat, we will take a look at them when the time comes up. And if you are having fun today, we encourage you to shout it out on social media. As we said, we're going to post this on YouTube, but you can also include the other CSS. You know, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, but it also stands for Career Speaker Series. And you can see us on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Delgado IT Pro. So tell everybody about this if you have a great time. And without further ado, let's turn it over to Mr. Chad Perrier, Vice President of UDI.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? I hope y'all are staying safe in this weather that we're going to be having or soon to be having. I went outside a little bit earlier today, and that wind is gusting. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. And thank you, Nick, for the introduction, the kind words, and even invite me to speak in this series. I'm excited to speak to everybody. Part of my goals for today is to talk about my journey, you know, where I started in the workforce about 12 years ago today, the things that I have done and the steps that I've taken to get me to my position to where I am today. To talk about our industry, as Nick had mentioned, you know, demystifying some of the things about our industry. And I know I've heard it all too often where a lot of people out of college are saying, look, if I'm not working for Google or Amazon or Microsoft, you know, there are not many legitimate jobs out there. Well, Universal Data is a local IT service provider who's been in business for 40 years to this year and counting. And so we have a great team of people who are able to build careers here locally, serving local organizations where they're able to retain and maintain their family roots in New Orleans and the greater New Orleans area. And the last goal that for today is to discuss about some of the things that we look for, and hopefully that y'all can take away on how to prepare for the workforce, the things that organizations such as Universal that are looking for, and the steps that y'all might want to take or look at taking in order to prepare for when y'all get into the workforce. So with that being said, I'm gonna break this up into two main sections of this. Is just one is a little bit about me and my background. And how I got into UDI, into the position I am today. And the next is UDI and Universal Data is the acronym for that, but also where, you know, what we do, the industries that we serve, and the services that we provide to both our staff and our customers. So with that being said, just at a high level, Universal Data is a technology and cybersecurity service provider. So we are providing organizations with projects, with implementation services, with management services to help them leverage technology into their day-to-day operations. And I'll dive deeper into those things and peel that onion back a little bit, just so that y'all can get a feel for the different fields that we're in. So I started off my college career with a construction management degree. So if you can think of construction management and technology, they are nowhere near in the same field of work that they are today. And that's one of the beautiful things about technology is you meet a lot of people from different types of backgrounds that have a specific interest and desire in the things that technology provides, and then they go after that. So I graduated from LSU back in 2009 with a construction management degree and a minor in business administration. At the time, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to have a career and not just a job. I wanted to have a career that would challenge me to reach my potential, to reach things I knew that I was capable of doing. And so as I started approaching my graduation, I decided to get my MBA at UNO as well. During that time, I worked in the construction field because I wanted to make sure I was at least giving it a shot, not knowing if I would like it or not, but giving it a shot for about a year and a half. And it wasn't challenging me in the ways that I wanted to be challenged. I did not see myself being able to build a fulfilling career in that. It was a job which was awesome, but it wasn't a career. And I delineated the differences between the two. If I'm going to be doing something 40 plus hours a day, a week, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I enjoyed it. I want to make sure I loved it and something that I can dive into and have a passion about. And that just wasn't the field that I was in. So at that time, I started Universal Data is a family-owned and operated organization. So I started having conversations about, all right, what does it look like if I joined? Not knowing much about technology, not knowing much about the things that they have done on a day-to-day basis. So I came on board about the 2011 timeframe. So I've been with Universal Data for about 11 years now. And I had to start from the bottom of just understanding what it is that we're doing. Yes, I knew that Universal Data provided technology services, but that can be such a broad stroke that it can go in many different avenues. So I started off answering phones, helping our customer support, and really trying to drive the customer experience. Trying to help my teammates perform their jobs, whatever it may be. So it was a little bit after Katrina, and we were redoing a hospital out in St. Bernard Parish, and they needed some night work, they needed some weekend work. It was nothing that I had experience with, but they just needed some extra hands. So taking on responsibilities and helping out, it allowed me to see the different aspects of the business, the different aspects that we can do, and really how our clients perceive that and how our clients use those services. So as I started getting a better feel for it and my feet under me, for lack of better terms, I started branching out into different things. I started suggesting changes, not just saying, hey, look, this is a problem. Tell me how y'all are going to figure out. I started saying, this is a problem. Here's an improvement that I'm seeing, whether it's a shift in our process, a shift in the services that we're offering, or the way that we're offering those services. But I'd make sure that every time that I saw an issue, that I wouldn't raise my hand or raise a concern until I had some type of solution that I tied to that. And I think that was a big trigger for me, because once I saw that, yes, this is the way that we're doing it, there has to be a better, smarter way of doing it. I started going down these different avenues of what is that better and smarter way of doing it. So that led me into what we call our managed services customers, so our contract customers. So as a part of our business, organizations hire us to be their IT department. And they call on us when they need their printer fixed. They call on us when they can't access a Word document or when their computer crashes. They rely on us to give them the latest and greatest in technology and how they can use it within their organization. So owning that section of our business, which I saw that, look, we weren't doing it the best that we could, and there was better ways of going about doing those things, allowed the management of Universal Data to say, all right, well, look, you're bringing these recommendations. Why don't you start now being responsible for implementing these recommendations? So that was then, I went from answering phones to helping out to then being responsible for helping to make sure that these things were implemented. Now, it wasn't just myself implementing. There's no one person on our team that can do these things themselves. I had a great team of people around me that were helping me, but the management was expecting me to be the driver for those changes. So I did that, and that the technical title that I had, I'm not big on titles, but the technical title that I had was a service operations manager. And so I served in that role for probably 5 to 6 years, just continuing to find better ways of doing things and different ways of doing things to adapt as our environment adapts with us. If y'all have studied and dove into technology, there's one thing that is consistent is change. Is what we're doing today may not be relevant a month from now. There may be a newer way of doing it. There might be a newer technology out there that improves those things. And that's the mindset that we take as an organization. But I was taking and I was buying into at the time of, all right, what worked for us today may not work for us tomorrow. So let's continue finding those things. The next step was leveraging some of the things that I learned through my MBA. So it wasn't about until 5 or 6 years that I was really applying some of the things to the MBA. They had a need on the finance side of the business to have somebody to look over and change some of the processes that we were doing, some of the way that we were handling our financial department. So they tasked me with doing that. So we backfilled that service operations manager position, and they put me back into the finance where, the first thing I said was, let's go paperless. We are a IT, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that an IT company, we're printing out stacks of paper. And that was one of the first things I did is, look, let's, what I call eat our own dog food. Let's eat our own dog food here. If we're an IT company, let's get rid of the paper that we're printing out. Let's move away from printing invoices. Let's move away from printing statements, from printing tickets, and start storing that in our file system. And eventually what we migrated to the cloud, and let's start storing that in a paperless environment. And so we were able to get rid of, I would say, probably 10 file cabinets that were just collecting paper. Now we still, the information that we're saving and storing is still the same. We're just doing it in a different manner. And we started looking at different things that we can do to streamline our operations by leveraging the technology itself. So as I started getting a feel, and those components started moving a little bit more seamlessly and humming along, they needed some help. University needed some help on just the overarching day-to-day operations of it, from the financials to the services to the helping our sales team out. That's when I moved my position to more of a vice president of operations. And that's where I'm helping our head of our departments in whatever capacity they might need help with. So again, we have a great team. We have people that are capable and accountable to the things that they're doing. So I'm just finding ways that maybe even from an outsider's perspective, who's not the one that's focusing on our sales or focusing on our finances or focusing on our services, to give a different perspective. And just, again, what I was doing at the start of it, just finding ways to help the team. We win as a team, we lose as a team. That's the mentality that I've always taken. And just finding ways that we can continue to win as a team. So that's the approach that I've taken. Through that approach, I'm a firm believer that we need to help uplift the staff around us. Everybody here has some type of employee development plan to improve themselves, to help achieve their personal and professional goals. And that ties into some of the reasons why University Data is around for 40 years is we want to invest in our people. We don't want people who are not going to want to better themselves. It's all about the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. So that's probably when I started that mentality of helping our organizations, because I enjoyed helping our customers from day one, enjoyed helping our customers improve that customer experience, but seeing that I'm helping our team members, and my team members were able to help me tremendously throughout my journey, just paying that back to people that are here, people that are no longer here, that have moved on to different positions. We still have great relationships with them because we had that team environment. And I think in technology and in this industry in general, working on a team is a very powerful component, and a component that can lift individuals, lift teams to a whole different level, if and when done right. The people that are looking for the fame and the glory of I did this, I'm the reason for these changes, that's not how a team works. I've played sports all of my life, and when you play sports, it's not the individual that scored the most points, it's the team that scored the most points. That's who wins. An individual could have 30 points in a basketball game, but that doesn't mean anything if the team loses. And that's the approach that we need to take, and we continue to take. So pivoting from there onto universal data. So as I mentioned, universal data, we've been in business for 40 years and counting. If you can imagine what technology was back 40 years ago to what it is today, it's a whole different world. And it will continue to be a world 10, 20, 30 years from now. We need to continue to adapt with our surroundings. We coined ourselves the chameleons of IT, because as technology changes, we need to change with it. So back in the 80s, we were a word processing company for law firms. Basically, you automated a lot of the things that they were doing on typewriters. We started getting into the networking side of things in the 90s. We went through if some of y'all might be too young to remember this, the .com and the Y2K era. We went through all of that back in the 90s and 20s, or in 2000s, and then managed services and technology services, I think in this region really lifted off after Katrina. So prior to Katrina, I don't think people really grasped some of the components or some of the reliability and dependency on technology as it relates to our business. But after Katrina, all of a sudden, you're not able to access your data. You're not able to function because your servers are in New Orleans, and New Orleans was out of power for weeks. And when they did have power, you needed to get back into the city to change and to come grab it and move it. In our case, we came back to the city, which we were downtown New Orleans. We grabbed it and we moved it to a data center in Baton Rouge and never brought it back. And so we were able to continue, and we helped our clients do the same thing. We helped one of the restaurants, the first restaurants in New Orleans, get back up and running after Katrina, by getting some people in the city and fixing their systems to where they can start opening up on a limited basis, granted, but opening up. So that approach of the customer first mentality is we've taken all throughout. Our two biggest, I would say, business focuses is what we call our projects, our professional services, and our total IT, or managed services functions. So our projects division is responsible for basically architecting infrastructure designs. So whether that, and I'm going to just explain things in today's day and age, whether that's moving from a server to a serverless or cloud environment, getting all the data from your on-prem physical server. That way you're not reliant on a physical device in New Orleans, as we saw with Ida. People were down for 2+ weeks without power. So the ones that we did convert into that serverless office or that cloud migration, they were able to continue to function. So we will walk in there, we'll understand the business needs, the business challenges of these various organizations, and we'll work hand in hand with their staff, whether it's the owners or the IT department, and designing what they're looking to do, tying some of those business challenges and business goals to technology and how technology can leverage those things. Cybersecurity is a big piece of our business. So as cyber threats and bad actors continue to change their methods and evolve their ways of hacking organizations, we need to change our tactics, change our protection, and continue to evaluate what better ways can we protect our clients' organizations. So we'll go in and we'll implement, the next gen firewall, or we'll set up multi-factor authentication for organizations, teach their staff how to use it, and then walk away. Wireless and mobility, people want to be able to work whenever, wherever. They want to be able to walk around their office, and they need to in certain cases, with their laptop, and go set up at the kitchen and be able to work, go sit up in a conference room and be able to work. And they need to be able to work seamlessly, quickly, as if they're working at their desk. That's just what's expected in this world. So we'll help design wireless solutions, how they want things set up, making sure that we're setting up the access points, wireless access points in a way that it's full coverage, sufficient coverage, whether you're working in a school, a law firm, or doctor's office. That way, as a nurse goes from office to office, her tablet or her workstation isn't losing connectivity. She can continue working on those devices. So that's the professional services or the implementation architecting side of things. The other side of the house is what we call our total IT department or managed services. So that is where organizations hire us to maintain, manage, and plan their IT infrastructure. So we have what we call a remote operations team, a remote ops team, which they're our help desk guys. When a client has an issue, they call us. These are the first line of support. These are the ones that help, get them back up and running, whether their computer crash or they're not able to print. We'll troubleshoot those things. We have a set of on-site people that will send on-site if we can't fix those things remotely. What we love to do and what I think separates us is our business first approach to our clients. So knowing that technology is the driver for their businesses, we know that we need to make sure that there's a business reason that they're making some of these changes. If we implement this, specific technology, if we start implementing wireless, or if we add an additional layer of security, what is that doing for their business? Whether it's a compliance reason or whether it's a work function or enablement feature, we have to take those out. So those clients we work hand in hand with them to be able to identify those goals and then build what we call IT roadmaps. So, over the next 6 months, here's our plans. These are some of the proactive things that we want to do. Outside of keeping your network up and running and identifying cyber threats, here's some of the things that we're going to do for you. We talked about migrating to the cloud, or we've seen this, this repeated issue that you're having every week. Well, let's find out what the root cause of that issue is and make sure that issue doesn't continue to happen. And by taking that approach and forming those relationships with the clients, we tend to retain clients for a long term. It's not just a quick engagement. We are big about customer service and the customer experience. One of our core values is create raving fans. Is we want to be able to create raving fans in our interactions. If people say how great of a job that we're doing, we want to make sure, hey, they're a fan of Universal Data, and that's how we get those loyal customers and building long-term relationships with these people. Knowing that there's a people component to this as well. It's not just, well, it's a technology issue. There's a people component here. So to tell you all a little bit about our culture, because our culture is what makes us who we are. Our culture is the reason Universal Data is, and a culture is not just a statement or a saying, and a culture is not just what I'm telling y'all or saying our culture is or telling my team our culture is. I can't dictate that culture. The staff, the team are the ones that drive the culture. They're the ones that are the outcome for what the culture is. And you get the culture that you want by surrounding yourselves with the right team members, by people that want to be on a team. We are looking for people who have an interest in technology, whether it's from the finance side of it, from the sales side of it, or from the technician and IT support specialist side of it. They want to have an interest. As I mentioned earlier, technology continues to evolve. If you don't have an interest, you're not going to evolve and you're not going to stay on top of it. So getting people that have an interest in technology, that have an interest in each other, wanting to make sure the person that's sitting next to me exceeds and excels just the same as I do, taking an interest in each other, it helps promote that team atmosphere. Knowing that, in technology, people aren't, in our business, I should say, people aren't calling us all the time because of good things. They're calling us because they have issues. and making sure that we help our customers, but also help our team members when those rough days come about, just uplift and keep themselves stronger. That's some of the things that we're looking for. We have people on an employee development program, so everybody here has some type of plan where, and a lot of it's on certification, but continuing education based. We are big on certification, so all of our technical people have a certification tied to their goals. And we have many different goals here, but the certifications is. So we're looking for people at the very minimum with a CompTIA certification. So I know Delgado has some prep courses for the Net Plus, Security Plus, and A Plus. We want to make sure that everybody on the staff from a technical perspective has one of those. And that's about, and thinking about it as credentials. You know, a degree is phenomenal. A degree means that you have, you've put forth the blood, sweat, and tears into getting your degree and completing a 2-year goal, and some might be shorter, some might be longer. But you've completed this goal. But we want to make sure from the IT perspective that they have credentials, that the way there's a baseline of knowledge. And as you start diving into our more senior, mid-level, and senior engineers, those credentials and the level of credentials that they have or certifications that they have tend to increase, especially in our security analyst side. They need to have those credentials. If they're going to perform some of the work that they're working on, they need to have those credentials. Our core value, so back to the culture of it, our core value is achieving excellence together. We want to be the best at what we do. We want to be the best IT service provider that people have ever worked with. We know, so that's the achieving excellence, continuing to find better ways of doing things, continuing to challenge our status quo. Just because it's working for us right now, does that mean that it will be working for us tomorrow? And that's the achieving excellence piece of it, but that togetherness. That together is that teamwork that I continue to repeat, is because that is a big factor of the things that we're doing. So that's from the culture standpoint. And we need to have fun as well. So we do crawfish boils. We did a crawfish boil this past Friday for a luncheon. That helps us build that team atmosphere. That's one thing to say, all right, we have people that are working together, but when you can step away from the desk and eat lunch together, or when you can step away from the desk and you go out to a happy hour, you go out and play pool or shoot darts, you get to know each other on a whole different level. And you get to know things about the individual that you didn't really get to see before, and that helps the individuals interact, work together. Because I've learned a lot that I might have been communicating with somebody this one way, but after speaking with them outside of the office, all right, well, I might need to change the way that we're communicating, because that's just how this individual is. No two people are ever built alike. So we need to identify and appreciate those differences with those individuals. Nick, how am I doing on time?
Chad, you're doing great. I mean, if we want to switch over to questions, if you feel like you're ready for that.
Yeah, I know I've thrown a lot out there. I've probably spoke a little fast, so I like more conversations. I like the questions. I like any thoughts, feedback that y'all may have, and that might allow me to speak faster. I don't know.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So we're open for questions. If you want to throw them in the chat, I can read them out. If you want to unmute, you can go ahead. If nobody's got one, I got one cooking. So you talked about, you said a lot of things that I wrote down. Raven fans, Ken Blanchard, I love that book. I just read that book.
Yep, it's real.
It's real quick too. So we got a question here from Heinrich. I'm currently in Louisiana attending Delgado for my AAS in cloud computing, but will be likely moving to Dallas, Texas later this year. Does UDI help with careers in other areas, such as, for example, Dallas or future location changes, technology changes? Oh, this is a few questions. So let's start with that one.
So I think one thing that the pandemic, and tell me if I'm answering your question properly or not, Heinrich, but one thing that the pandemic has taught us and has challenged businesses throughout the world is to rethink how they've ordinarily approached working. So before COVID and before the pandemic, not many organizations had a work from home policy or had the ability for people to work from home. So getting location has been a less of a factor of where our staff works. So we have people in Florida, we have people in Lafayette that are working that are doing just as good, if not better, than some of the people that we have here in Elmwood. But that's challenged us. And so we've taken a hybrid approach to where we have some people that are working here one day and they're working from home the next day. So I don't know if that's answering your question. Does Universal AI help with the careers other than are the other areas such as Dallas and future changes in location? So future changes in location doesn't matter to us. Finding the right organization who can be flexible with where you're working, I think would be one factor. And as you're interviewing, I would challenge y'all to come with a list of questions to that interview. Because when you take a job, you want to make sure that it's a right fit for you. And that's one of the things I learned early is a job's not just a job that pays. A job is something that you need to enjoy doing, and not all jobs are created equally. So you need to know that it's a right culture, a right fit, and right organization for you. So that's one thing I would say is helping in areas such as Dallas or wherever. It doesn't matter to us where you are. We're going to put people in the same career development path, not the same path, but a similar type of setup, whether they're in Dallas, whether they're in Florida or Lafayette.
All right, technology changes. How much do you think that affects job security?
I think it's a big factor of job security. The people who have been able to adapt with it are the ones that excel and exceed. The people that kind of take technology as a hobby and not necessarily a career are the ones, and it might not be immediately, but the ones down the road where you see 3, 4, 5 years from now, they find themselves behind the times. So staying up to date with the latest trends, staying up to date with the changes and the capabilities that are out there, I think that helps. And that doesn't only help for job security, that helps for promotions, that helps for additional opportunities.
The next question, since teamwork is so important, do y'all use agile methodology or mindsets?
Not in our organization. We probably steal pieces of the agile methodology mindset, but we have meetings that we go through. We have, I guess it's just ingrained into our culture, I would say, some of the things that we're doing. We haven't taken any type of methodology or mindset. We've adopted what works for us, and we've learned what doesn't work for us. So we do the things that works for us, and we try to stop the things that don't work for us.
And then last question from Heinrich was, do you always look for CompTIA certifications, and do you expect them to be continually renewed?
So for a technical position, yes, we do, especially in the entry-level position. And we understand that not everybody will have that certification coming in. And there are some very smart and bright people that we have hired who don't have that certification, but we do give them a roadmap and path to get that certification. And for us, we make it mandatory that they get that certification with a certain amount of time frame. As far as renewal for that one certification, no, because that's a baseline certification for us. So as that individual starts to progress their career and progress their knowledge, we'll have them go after various different certifications, mainly in the Microsoft side of things. If they want to be on the systems cloud, security has their own line of certifications, and then on the network and communication side of it, whether it's Cisco, whether it's Aruba, we have those type of certifications that we look for. So I'm hoping that helped.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, if y'all have any questions, throw them in the chat. So Chad, I had a question. So you were studying construction management, you had a minor in business, and then you came to work at this organization. And this is a technology organization. So you obviously were doing your own learning about technology kind of outside of school, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And can you how did you do that? Like, what were you doing? How did you learn these things?
So I learned more of the operational side of things. I took a few ISBS classes while I was at school at LSU that helped me understand the framework of the things that we were doing. Gave me a baseline understanding. That way I wasn't just walking in and not knowing how to work on a keyboard or not knowing how to access a computer. But as I took the job, I kind of assessed the team's strengths and weaknesses. And some of those were and they still are to date, very strong on the technology aspect of it. But on the operational component is where I saw that there was a need for. And that's where I kind of focused my attention is how can we change some of our processes, procedures, and the way that we're doing things, not necessarily the technology side of it, but the way that we're doing things. Now, with that being said, terminology and understanding understand the cause and impact of certain things, that took me a very long time to get my head around. Because some of the terminology that we were using, I wasn't familiar with. So whenever we'd be in conversation or meeting and one of our engineers would say something, I'd get a notepad and I'd write it down. And I'd go back and I'd Google it. Google is one of the most beautiful things that you can use. Is there's a wealth of knowledge out there. It's just a matter of, are you going out and trying to search it?
Right on. And then, as far as, we have a lot of students here, people who are interested in getting in the IT technical careers. And you said, knowledge about products and software and services is important. But is there something, what is the best advice, to somebody trying to get into this industry?
So somebody trying to get into this industry is, I would say, have the desire and put forth the effort to get there. Because there's one thing to have these certifications, but those soft skills, what I call them, those are the ones that separate individuals. And just because an individual may not have that CompTIA, but I see that they have, some of the teamwork ability. We actually used to interview questions. Is they have the ability to work in a team. They have the ability to critically think. They have the ability to communicate properly, and they have some type of customer service. We have people in the customer service industry that they came into this field and hit the ground running because they know how to interact with people. We had a bartender from Bourbon Street that came on shortly after the pandemic. He's done a phenomenal job. I can only imagine the people he had to deal with on Bourbon Street, but our customers loved him.
Right on. And then technology-wise, is there anything that you think it would be good for students to kind of pay attention to, as they're moving through school, like in general?
I would say so technology is a broad umbrella, and there's many different avenues and paths that you can take. First and foremost is find the path that you enjoy, and don't be scared to take chances. Don't be scared to take some chances in seeing if you like this area. But my first recommendation is finding something that you enjoy doing, because there's a lot of different ways that you can go. Once you do, own it. Once you do find it, own your own knowledge and your own development in that area. As far as, as I mentioned earlier, technology is a broad umbrella, and our piece of that umbrella, I would say the biggest components that you may want to look at and that everybody may want to look at is security first and foremost. Security, everything that we do, we need to do with security top of mind. Any change that we make, anything that we implement, we need to make sure that we're doing it in a secure fashion. The next is networking. Getting onto the networking, the routing, the switching side of things, the wireless side of things, is if you enjoy that type of skill set. And then the third one would be the cloud. The cloud is a big player, and the cloud is here to stay. So understanding the cloud technologies that are out there, Google, Amazon, Microsoft are probably the three biggest. And I know Delgado teaches some AWS classes, but get a feel for that. Get a feel if you like that side of it. But those three are probably the main lines that we deal with, and the main areas I would let people know to explore and see if they enjoy. Security. And you can make a lot of money. You can have a very good career if you dive into some of these things. And there's ways to do it in the city with organizations like us, organizations smaller than us, organizations larger than us. It doesn't need to be a Amazon or Microsoft. It can be with some of these service providers who are leveraging those type of technologies in different manners and ways.
Right on. Again, if y'all have any questions, throw them in the chat, or else I'm going to keep hitting Chad with the ones I got. Chad, so you work with a lot of businesses in the area. Is there something that you see as a common challenge that many different kinds of businesses are having?
So today, the two top challenges or focus areas would be security and cloud conversions. Security, just because if a hacker or a bad actor gets a hold of your data, it's taken businesses down for days at a time. And a third of those businesses, and this is just a national statistic, a business that gets hit with ransomware, a third of those businesses aren't able to recover. So that's not saying that, they won't go out of business at the time, but getting their operations back up and running, restoring those services, it might be 6 months down the road, and they might say, we haven't been able to overcome this. So making sure that they're giving it the attention that it needs first and foremost, and putting the tools, processes, policies, and people in place to make sure it's being protected, I would say is the top one. What the last 2 years has brought back to light, because I think we as a region seem to have forgotten about it, is the threat of natural disasters, and what that causes and what that does to businesses. In today's day and age, downtime is critical. Not being able to access your data, software is critical to organizations. So when Ida hit and people in New Orleans area and businesses alike were out of power for 2, 3, 4+ weeks, it reminded them of, what's that thing up there? The cloud? Yeah, let's talk about the cloud. Remind me what the cloud is and how do I get there? And so the people that were in the cloud, they never missed a beat. Now, I had a customer out of Alexandria whose phones were in the cloud, whose data was in the cloud, and he was sitting in that. He was out of New Orleans, but sitting in Alexandria. And I called him 3 days after the storm. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Dude, I'm working. I haven't missed a beat. It's like nothing's happened. I'm not in my house. I'm in a hotel, but I'm able to continue providing for his clients." All these companies, many organizations in the service industry, and the better that they can provide for their clients, the better the engagement is. So that's a lot of the conversations that we're having, and I see that picking up nationwide, just because it's, I guess we have to deal with tornadoes in New Orleans now as well. Didn't think we'd have to do that, but there's just no telling what's coming about. So whether you're in California, South Carolina, Montana, Louisiana, a lot of their commonalities from a lot of these things.
We have a question from Tracy King.
Hi, Chad. I've enjoyed everything that you've shared. I did join a little late, so I missed your book recommendation, but it's sort of in line with that. You were talking a lot about culture, and culture is something that, while we do try to incorporate it into the classes, it's kind of hard to teach, the soft skills and so forth. And so I guess I have two questions. The first question is, could you talk a little bit more about what you value culturally at your company? And then if there's any advice you could give our students on how they can improve some of those more cultural, personality, soft skills sort of things, because as you said, there's the technical skills, but then it's just also like, do you fit with a company? If you have any recommendations, on how they can fit better, that would be great.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining, Tracy, and all those great things I said while you were on. I said even better things beforehand. So just ask Nick. So some of the things that we look for. So we are big proponents of our core values. And our core values are what we hire by and what we strive to live by on a day-to-day basis. And so when you walk into our building, there's a big circle that has all of our core values on there. There's 5 core values. And we talk about that through our interviews. And those are some of the soft skills and some of just the traits that we look for in people, and to make sure that they're aware of them that they're aware that, look, this is what we expect you to live by. This is what we want to live by. And this is what I hold myself accountable to live by. And does that fit with your personality? Does that fit with your values? Because as I mentioned earlier, not every job, not every company is created equally. And we've had employees who have worked here that doesn't fit with our values, which is perfectly fine. They went to an organization where they align better with their values. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just understanding the values, understanding the culture. So just to let y'all know some of the values that we ask for and we talk about here, and I've mentioned these throughout the call, is bringing solutions, not problems. I know there's ways that we can do things better for ourselves and for our clients, but I want to hear recommendations. I want people to challenge me and challenge each other about the way that we're doing things. Because honestly, the people on our team have great ideas. They're very intelligent people, and I want to hear those ideas. That's the only way we'll continue to be better. Achieve excellence together. We want to win as a team. We want to be the best at what we do, and the only way that we can do that is teamwork. So the best is continuing to trying to invest in yourself and improve yourself, understanding that we work on a team and we need to be able to help improve those ones around us. The book that you had mentioned was Create Raven Fans. We love that book. We love to make sure that we're striving to live by it. We may not hit it every single time, but when we don't, we want to find out exactly, yes. There, look, it was very handy for you. But we're in the customer service business, so we want to make sure that we're striving to go above and beyond our customers' expectations. And when we hear those results and those feedback, it makes my day. And we give out awards, we give out shout outs to the people that we get feedback from to make sure that we're recognizing that. Being accountable. So be accountable to yourself, be accountable to others. It's as simple as say what you do and do what you say. We want people that are going to let people know what they're going to do, but actually follow up and do it. Not just say it and let that die on the vine. And the last thing, and this is the most important to us, is doing the right thing. So what do you do when nobody's looking? What do you do when you're not being watched? Can we trust you to do the right thing? And there needs to be a mutual trust in any employment. Do you trust us as the employer to do the right thing? To make sure that we're watching after you, make sure we're watching after the organization, and not just making sure I'm watching after Chad. Because for Universal Data, it's bigger than Chad. It's bigger than one individual on the team. And we need to make sure that we can trust each other to do the right thing. So recommendations, as I had mentioned earlier, I would encourage you to, on interviews, come with some questions for you to get a feel for what that organization is like. Makeup, not just how much do you pay, not just, what role am I doing, what's my title, but get some questions that gets you to get a feel for what they're bringing to the table as well, to make sure you think that you'll be a good fit for them.
Right on. And then do you have any recommendations of how a person might practice that? I know we talk about there's technical development, but if you see somebody whose soft skills are 80% of the way there, you're like, hey, why don't you go join a local team sport? Or you know what I mean? Are there ways that people build that kind of stuff? Yeah,
there's all kinds of things out there. I drop my kids off at school, which is about a 20-minute drive. And during that time, I still got young kids. So I've discovered audiobooks. And finding audiobooks that kind of get to and speak to the things that I'm looking to do to better myself at that time, I would say is probably one of the biggest things that's been the most impactful for me. They have organizations out there that can help do that as well. So if you don't think that you're a good public speaker and you want to work on your speaking, they have organizations out there. Toastmasters is one of those that can help you, get to that. I think books, whether they're read or whether they're audiobooks, are probably one of the biggest things that you can do. And they have a ton of books out there, personal development, self-help books out there, that if you listen to them, it's a good one. The one that I'm on right now, and I'm getting the entire staff to read, is Extreme Ownership. It's by a former Navy SEAL, and it's not as on the surface as you want. I like, for one reason, and just self-admittedly, I like it because it relates his experience in the military and his experience in the war to real life and even in business. So you can see how it was applied in the military, but you can also see how he's applying to everyday life. And it can be as simple as, getting in shape. And he compares it to there's one person that's responsible to make sure that you get in shape. If I'm not waking up in the morning to work out, there's only one person responsible for that. I need to take extreme ownership for the things that I'm responsible for and making sure those things happen. And what, even during the pandemic, I told our staff, look, we need to control the things that we can control. All the things that we can't control, just try and block that out if you can. Control what you can control. And that's kind of what led me to the extreme ownership side of it, is owning the things that we can control in a manner that, it gives us the results that we want. And if not, we find a different way of doing it until we get those results.
Right on. Thanks, Chad. And then we have a question here from Shopcut. How much of an importance is it to have a college degree when applying for a job? Also, what advantage does pursuing a master's degree give to a potential candidate, or what career opportunities does it lead to?
So the importance in our business and in our field, the importance of a college degree is preferred, but it's not required. So a college degree tells us that you have an additional, you've taken an additional step outside of your high school degree and to advance your skill set and your learning. With that being said, one of our most senior engineers did not have a college degree, but he had a lot of years of experience, and he worked his way from the bottom all the way by doing some of the things that we had talked about of, continue to find ways to improve himself. We want to see a college education, but that's not required. I don't want to limit our people and our resources to people that just have college degrees. If we see that the person's intelligent, diligent, and they meet our core values, we're certainly going to have a conversation and give them a fair shake. The advantage of pursuing a master's degree and career opportunities, it depends on what you want to do. And it depends on what field that you want to go in. So if you're in the technology field, will a master's, and I got an MBA, so a master's in business associate, will that give you much? Not necessarily, but I know one of our engineers is getting a master's in cybersecurity. So at the conclusion of that, he's going to be at a much higher level to be able to triage, troubleshoot, and even dig into some forensics for us that he wasn't there before. So that will give him a lot of career opportunity for advancements and doing additional things that he wasn't, and we may not have people that are able to do that. He might be the only person, which creates additional opportunities for him.
Right on. Other questions? These have been great.
Yeah, I'm loving the questions.
We have a few more minutes left, so if anybody want to get a last one in, throw it in the chat. If we don't, I'll ask you one. Chad, is there anything technology-wise that you see coming up on the horizon that's exciting for you? Maybe professional and personal as well. Like technology that just gets you excited right now?
So one of the things is robotics automation. So in our world, it is automating some of these routine tasks that we're doing that our staff is doing as kind of brain memory, I would say. So if we can get them to work on more critically thinking type of activities and not just those routine, they're going to enjoy their jobs a lot better. If we can get them to get out of some, and when I talk about robotics automation and us, it's creating it's doing the same process several different times. If we can automate that and just automation in general, our team can be used in a more of a capacity that they were meant to be used. And they'll be able to elevate themselves throughout that. I would not be concerned or threatened about the job security side of it, because I heard the same thing with the cloud, 7-8 years ago. The job security, as long as we continue to challenge ourselves and put forth that effort, the job security will be there, especially in our industry. Our industry, there's a need for those individuals. So let's let automation take place, and let's let us do more of the critically thinking, more progressive activities.
Right on. Any personal technologies, fun technologies, things that you're interested in outside of work?
Not really.
You said you got young kids. I bet that's a lot of your time, right?
That is my time. That is my time. So whatever they enjoy these days, that's what I'm enjoying.
Right on. Cool. Well, any last questions? Any last parting words, Chad?
Thank you all for having me. I enjoyed it. I love the questions. I love the courses at Delgado. We've hired several Delgado grads, so I love the work that they're doing there. I love the work that the people are putting forth. So it was an honor to be here, and hopefully you'll have me back one day.
Oh, absolutely, Chad. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. So yeah, we'll be able to catch this recording. If you enjoyed what you saw, stay tuned. We'll post a link on our YouTube channel and we'll share the links. But otherwise, I hope you have a great day and stay safe out there.
Thank you.